It started out as a simple enough project. Rich wanted clouds painted upstairs on the third floor of his house, a 30 by 40-foot studio space with skylights for his trains. It didn't seem like much, just clouds on a section of the slanted walls where the gambrel roof angled in at about 60 degrees and only up as far as the exposed beams. The house is a post and beam construction, maybe 200 years old. He said, "Go up there, take a look. That section of the ceiling wall is already painted blue. I had David paint it years ago." I went up to look. It was white. I told him. He said, "No, it's not white, it's blue." David was now home from work. "Will you go up there and take a look?" "I don't have to. I know it's blue. I painted it." So now Priscilla walked in the door. "Please, Pris, will you go up with me and decide whether it's blue or white?" We did. She said, "It's white." "Okay, so please tell them." On hearing this, Rich said, "So? It needs to be blue. Get some paint at the hardware store. I have an account." It was pouring rain the next day. I got the paint. Taping and painting began on the deep slanted walls of the studio, which, by the way, was an absolute jungle of plywood, sawdust, saws, power saws, tools, compressor, partially built support, tall tables for trains, and dirt. David put the finishing touches, painting the tricky places around track lights and beams. The sky was finished. Rich wanted the clouds done in airbrush. So began the tutorial on how to use an airbrush. Lo and behold, he'd prepared two 4-foot by 4-foot panels with bluish paint for practice. We had to go down cellar to the workbench down there and his other compressor, a difficult maneuver for him, but he wouldn't be deterred. The effort was huge. Perspiration poured off him, down his back and his face, water streaming from his nose. He asked me to bring him a little stepladder so he could sit and rest. The teaching proceeded, loading the fine airbrush paint, calculating the aperture of the nozzle, making sure the airway was clear, clearing the tubing, calibrating the pressure from the compressor. What was wanted were clouds with no shading, just puffy, sunny day clouds. The compressor was intimidating with its noise and power and fine tuning. We got a pass on the clouds. David carried the compressor on the third floor and its tubing, threading around and through the mess up there, calling himself Luigi, the cloud assistant. So leaving for New York the next day, I called over my shoulder, "Let me know if you need anything else to be painted." "Maybe a couple of seagulls," was all he said. Coming back a few days later, I heard Rich calling down from the third floor to come on up. There he was, running the Lionel trains around the tracks laid out by Brian Inch, slightly smiling, pouring sweat, in his bathrobe drenched with perspiration. I said, "Wow!" "Don't get excited. Just watch," he said. Brian was the guy he'd contracted from Maine who did train installations and designs all over the country. He built a whole support layout for 4.5-foot plywood tables for train track, going all around the room on these specially built curved plywood tables. Rich landed back in the hospital later that same day, and sitting with him the next day, the cell phone rang. I picked up. It was Brian from Maine calling to schedule the next and final installation. Walking down the hall, Brian said he could come September 9th to finish, which seemed fine. At the end of the call, he mentioned an offhand, "I hear you'll be painting a mural." I said, "What?" No answer. Back with Rich. "What do you want?" "He's coming September 9th." "Good." I waited. "Rich, Brian said I'd be painting a mural." Suddenly raising himself up on his elbow, his eyes like burning coals. "Oh, yeah? Where'd he get that idea?" I wanted to know. "I don't know." "What would the mural be?" "Trains." "Where would they be?" "Up above the beam." hell to reach, I'm thinking. I'll need to be on a ladder, even a step ladder on the trestle tables as well to get at the angled wall. Now, at this height, the slant of the gambrel roof is 45 degrees. With all that, I know nothing about trains, drawing them zilch. Rich said, all you need's in my book smart, upstairs, everything. Okay, so a crash course in American steam engines, beginning with the Industrial Revolution in England. George Stephenson came back from England with the design for a steam engine, virtually pressure cooker standing upright, powering a wagon on tracks, driven by a man in a chair up front. 1830 was the year the first one appeared. They were an extraordinary phenomenon for 114 years, till their weight and size at over 1,000,000 or more pounds finally brought in diesel engines. The first stage line drawings of selected American steam engines were penciled around the room above the 6 by 6 inch beam. The whole layout couldn't be seen on the ladder step stool, making composing a challenge. Luckily, Priscilla came up to see what was happening, guiding the layout from the ground. She was boots on the ground. Linda arrived from Vermont. Black marker lines and gray washes were painted with her help. It was beginning to emerge. Linda felt the whole thing needed tracks below the trains to tie it together. She made stencils, and she and Priscilla applied them. David felt the engines needed plumes of smoke to make them look alive. He was right. We sprayed in black smoke. They looked more dynamic. By now, Rich was in a hospital bed on the first floor. Hospice people were coming in almost daily, nurses working round the clock. Our sister Leslie, the nurse par excellence, was calling and coming by every day to check on things. David did the 6 a.m. medicine and coffee slot. I did the midnight run. We're showing Rich the mural progress on the iPad and on David's camera. Johnny stops by every day after work. Sunday night, September 8th, the train mural gets its finishing touches. David photographs it. Priscilla starts a book for the family with photos. I have to leave. School starts the 9th. Rich's arms, legs, and feet are cold. I tell him the painting's done. He fans his fingers in acknowledgement. This is my daughter.
You want to just tell her you call her back? Or?
No, she'll leave a message. This one will take a message.
So this will just wait just a little bit longer.
And I'll start on Sunday night, September 8th.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Sunday night, September 8th, the train mural gets its finishing touches. David photographs it. Priscilla starts a book for the family with the photos. I have to leave. School starts the 9th. Rich's arms and legs and feet are cold. I tell him the painting's done. He fans his fingers in acknowledgement. It's hard to go. Brian shows up the next morning and thinks he shouldn't do the work because Rich is so sick. However, everyone agrees, all the more reason to finish. And Brian finishes. That night, David, Leslie, and Linda are with Rich. And he goes.